Megalopolis tells a story of a man who is, um, um, let me get up the Letterboxd synopsis really quick on my computer here because there is no way that I'd be able to summarize this in my own words. Genius artist Caesar Catalina seeks to leap the city of New Rome into a utopian, idealistic future, while his opposition, Mayor Franklin Cicero, remains committed to a regressive status quo, perpetuating greed, special interests, and partisan warfare. Torn between them is socialite Julia Cicero, the mayor's daughter, whose love for Caesar has divided her loyalties, forcing her to discover what she truly believes humanity deserves. So this film was directed by Francis Ford Coppola and it stars Adam Driver, Nathalie Emmanuel, Giancarlo Esposito, Aubrey Plaza, Shia LaBeouf, Jon Voight, Jason Schwartzman, Lawrence Fishburne, Talia Shire, Dustin Hoffman, Grace VanderWaal, and Catherine Hunter. Normally this is the part of my review where I give you a quick overview of my thoughts before progressing into the meat of the review, but to be perfectly honest, I'm just at a loss for words with Megalopolis. I watched this film a few days ago, and when I was watching it, I loved it and hated it simultaneously. I wanted to leave the cinema because I just had enough, but I also couldn't look away. Then a few hours later, I started to come around to it a bit. I was like, actually, you know what? I actually kind of respect and admire it. Then I woke up the very next morning going, what the fuck did I just watch? That was the stupidest shit ever. I hated it. And I felt that way for the rest of the day. And then the next morning, I was like, you know what? I kind of like it. And then the next morning, I woke up thinking I absolutely loved it. And at the moment, as of recording right now, that is how I felt. I really, really loved this film. But that could all change just a couple of hours from now. I could delete all of this footage that I'm recording right now and go, never mind, it's a bunch of self-indulgent, preposterous tosh, fuck it. But this is how I feel now. And I'm not going to be reviewing this normally because there is no way to review this film normally because it is not a normal film in the slightest. I feel like I've just watched a visual representation of a man's brain as he goes criminally insane over the course of 2 hours. It was just shooting off sparks in all directions, firing off all cylinders, and I mean every single one. This movie is fucking ridiculous. The visuals to this film were beyond unique. They were either really spectacular or just some terrible green screen. The story is wacky as all hell with all this weird shit happening. At points it was like incomprehensible, but then other times I could see this really interesting creative vision. The idea of retelling the story of the fall of Rome but set in a postmodern America I think is really interesting. It's also interesting how parallels are drawn from what led up to the fall of Rome to modern day America. It's some really interesting stuff, but at the same time it's all of that mixed in with Adam Driver being able to control time. Him creating and discovering some magical material that he can build this utopian city with, to a sex scandal, to some murder mystery, to learning that love is a superpower like it's an alternate version of Interstellar, to a fucking satellite falling out of the sky and destroying bits of the city. It is a mess and a half. I can't express how ridiculous this film is. Thematically, all of its ideas and shit was just thrown up and vomited out onto a script. Basically, that's the only way I can describe this. It's just shit everywhere. Some of it is really interesting shit, and some of it is interesting because you feel like it could only be made by a man as old as Francis Ford Coppola, especially when it comes to discussing how we can leave a better future and a better world for our future generations. And especially Francis Ford Coppola, he has kids and grandkids, so that's something that he would think about a lot, and I'm sure a lot of people at that age would have that on their mind, thinking about how their offspring is going to go and develop in the world and how they're going to survive and what they're going to do. It's all quite interesting and quite poetic in parts. So you have all of that, and what we need to do to change the world now to make it a better place. The fear of progression, the fear of the future, the fear of the unknown, and how progression and regression clash against each other. It's all really interesting, and then you have parts where Jon Voight has a giant fucking boner. There are characters coming in and out of this film like they've just been completely forgotten about, and Francis Ford Coppola's like, oh shit, I forgot about that character, I better write them in here so it feels like they have their proper conclusion, even though they really don't. It's just like a character will appear at the start of the movie, then reappear 3/4 of the way through, and then disappear again. The dialogue and performances in this film are insane. There is not a single person that speaks like a real person, and despite all of that crazy stuff that I was telling you about, there's so much more beyond what I said, obviously. The film is boring as fuck. It is so wordy, it is so dialogue heavy, everyone speaks like they're trying to be quoted on a fucking statue. It's so bizarre, it's paradoxical. How can I be so entertained yet so bored at the exact same time? And I'm not talking about parts of the film were boring and parts were exhilarating. I'm talking about the entire thing was boring and exhilarating all at the same time. It is so bizarre. And I can't even say whether this film is well acted, well directed, well edited, well crafted, well written, whatever, because I have no idea what it's trying to do. There's no basis point for anything. It just completely depends on how you respond to it. I can grasp bits and pieces of what he's going for, but at the same time, as I said at the start, this just feels like an insane man's ramblings. There will never be another film like this. There will never be a film that I simultaneously love and hate so much and find so entertaining and so boring at the same time. It is crazy. No wonder no studio would take this. There's actually a line in the film where one of the characters talks about the string theory, where there's, I believe it's 11 different strings and they're all parallel universes. And that's how I felt when watching this film. I felt like all 11 strings were just crossing over and merging into one, because I was like, one string of me was loving this film, another one was hating it, another one was bored, another one was entertained, another one could grasp what was going on, another one couldn't. It just felt like I was having all these feelings at once. And I don't know. I seriously, I just don't know with this film. It is insane. And when I said, is it the best film or the worst film of the year in the thumbnail, I meant that. I'm not saying, that's not hyperbole at all. It could be, depending on who you ask, the greatest film of the year or the worst film of the year. And that is even underselling it a bit. I'm having some people I'm watching review it say it might be one of the worst films of all time, and others saying it might be one of the best films of all time. And the beauty of that is that I don't disagree. It is so crazy and out there and different that whatever you make of it is your interpretation and it's valid. And honestly, I think I love it. So Megalopolis is, just for the sake of experiencing it once, worth a watch. Thank you for watching my review, or maybe delusional ramble, on Megalopolis. Check this film out. I mean, why not? So I'll see you all later. Bye.